with Rajant Corporation. I want to invite you to our WebEx this morning. There's still a lot of people coming on, so if you don't mind, I'm going to hold for about 3 minutes before we get started. Well, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. There'll probably be some people joining in throughout. And what I wanted to do is let you know that this WebEx is being recorded, and we will have it available on our website sometime this afternoon. The other thing is there's a question option there, so that if you have some questions, please feel free to ask. We'll address the questions at the end of the presentation. Since there's a lot of people, we will try to get through all the questions if we can. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Today we have three speakers, myself, which I've introduced already, Edwin Cortes with Icom America. He is a technical expert with the push-to-talk technology, and he'll be going through the technical aspects of our partnership and the equipment that they provide. Steven Finch is with Fisher Wireless. He is a distribution rep for Icom America in the U.S., and he will go through some of the general dynamics of the offer as well. Launching into the presentation, want to present, who we are. Rajant's been around since 2001. We're in quite a few countries around the world, and we offer a private mesh solution to our clients. We're in more than 55 states, and one of the things that we've been looking at, and we've been asked by clients for a while, is the ability to talk through our Kinetic mesh network. One of the things we've done is historically we've added some components to the radio to facilitate the ability for group chats and things like that, but never really to this level. The partnership with Icom America really allows us to provide a true, real push-to-talk experience on any one of our breadcrumb networks globally, currently in place or in the future. So one of the things we wanted to do is ability to extend our offer as being requested by clients to have that integrated into our product. We've done some testing in our facilities, and we find that the relationship between us and Icom America is very symbiotic. They provide a really good network, push-to-talk technology. We provide a very long-range, stable platform for them to talk on. Where we're at right now, we're still working through the rollouts of the different platforms, but for the most part, we feel very comfortable in the technology, and we feel very comfortable in the applications that we're going to serve with this technology. Kind of why are we doing this? I'm a big believer in Industry 4.0. I want to make sure that our clients have the ability to support multiple applications in the same framework. So what we're doing is looking for value-added applications that'll run on the same infrastructure that you already have without having to add any additional infrastructure. That is the whole idea of Industry 4.0, making the deployment of new applications easier, simpler, and faster. So the relationship between us is really about that, giving our customers, existing and future, the ability to add on new applications and be able to bolt them onto an existing mesh network without having to replicate something or do something different. And that's kind of in the spirit of Industry 4.0, the next generation IoT environments, is to make those value-add applications easy to integrate, easy to deploy, and functional across the network. With our Icom partner, we've done testing and configuration. It's actually very easy to integrate the product. If you're familiar with our product, we have a software solution called BC Commander. BC Commander enables all of our breadcrumbs to be configured, and it's the tool that our sales engineers, our system integrators, and our professionals use to work on the application. Excuse me. To enable the Icom infrastructure to work, all you really have to do is enable an AP access point, which is what we're doing here. Name it Icom IP, which is the default for the way they come out of the plant. You can change the name, of course, if you want to, and plug in the Icom America controller box into the Ethernet port, and you're up and working. It's fairly simple to integrate, and then you'll see that across the Rajant breadcrumb infrastructure. And anywhere the mesh is extended, you'll be able to talk on the Icom radios. One of the things that I want to do is introduce Steve, and he'll go over kind of the fundamental aspects of the radios, because we want to leave some time for Q&A at the end. So the depiction here is that any place your infrastructure is laid out, you can use this relationship and this technology to use your push-to-talk technology versus any other. What I'm going to do now is hand it over to Steve. Steve will go through some of the highlights of their product, and then after this, we'll get Edwin on board to go through the technical aspects of the product. Steve?
Thanks, Al. First of all, let me join Al in thanking everyone for your participation. Fisher Wireless is very excited about our role in this partnership between Rajant Kinetic Mesh and Icom Push-to-Talk. We consider this a quantum leap forward for PTT two-way in difficult coverage areas, and a way to further utilize existing or proposed kinetic mesh networks. Push-to-talk is still the most reliable, safest, and immediate form of communication for many applications and industries. This slide that you see in front of you is the four main components of the Icom portion of the push-to-talk. In the upper left, you see the IP100H subscriber handset. Durable, reliable, simple to use, and rechargeable battery powered. Below left, right below the handset, you see the IP1000C controller. Controls up to 50 subscribers, manages your subscribers on the network, routes push-to-talk traffic, and manages network features. In the upper right, you see the IP100FS, PC-based software for user management of radios and features. It's a GUI for text messaging, free-form to SMS, it's radio status indicators, and call type routing. I think that one of the my customers are often concerned about maintaining control of their network, and this is how you can do that. You're keeping full control over your IP network, and you're not going out to external expense of let's say LTE or going out to the internet. In the bottom right, you see the VEPG4 ROIP gateway. Now this can act as the IP1000C controller, as it has a controller built into it. You can use this device to connect to other radio infrastructures. Al touched on that a little bit, which would be other forms of radio, other protocols that you may have. You can use this device to bridge over to those. You can also use this device to bridge over to other external devices, such as voice recorders, IP phones, et cetera, et cetera. And now I'll turn it over to Edwin, who will go into detail on each one of these components.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. My name is Edwin Cortes. I'm a technical project manager for Icom America. I've been with Icom for about 10 years on different capacities, and I'm the person in charge of providing training and SME on the VEPG4 product. Thank you for Rajant to reaching out to us to first test our equipment with their network, and now to solidify the relationship more with this presentation. As Steve said, there are four components on this technology. There's the IP radio, which is the individual device that every user will use to communicate. There is the IP1000C, and I need to clarify something. It's a little bit of confusion between the IP1000 and the VEPG4. The IP1000C would allow you 100 radios. And if you have a need of more than 100 radios, you can link up to 11 of these boxes. So you can have a fairly sizable network of radios. The IP100FS is it's a dispatch station, and I'm going to go over that in more detail. And the VEPG4 will be the hub of everything. It will be the piece of equipment that provide you synergy with all the different technologies that you can bring in to your Wi-Fi network. Since we're talking about oil and gas, we're talking about petroleum, there is other companies that use different technologies. For example, you have the people in trucks. They might be using land mobile radios. They might be using even CVs to talk. So you will be able to link them through the VEPG4 to the IP1000. And we're going to talk about that in the subsequent slides. So let's start talking about the IP100H radio. It's a very simple, very handsome radio. It's very easy to understand the screen. As you're looking at the screen on the bottom right-hand side, there's a lot of information on the screen. The normal signal indicator telling you that you have a great signal. Then you have what I call is two dudes or 2 persons in there. So if there's 2 persons, that's a group. So you are in a group call. If you have the same image but an outline, it's what we call a talk group. It's a more private group that only people that belong to that group will be able to talk. Then you have the battery indicator and different types of screens that you will have. For instance, on this screen, you have the date and the time, and the mode that you're talking at this time, which is all call. All call will be like a broadcast. So let's go over some details about the screen, the radio. It has an internal and an external antenna. With Rajant's mesh network, you might not need an external antenna because you have this mesh network of communications, so you will not need a bigger strength signal. So you have that option to remove the antenna, put a knobby that is included with the radio, and it looks more like a cell phone. So you have that option. If you need further reach of the signal, then you can put the antenna. It has vibration alert. So if you're in an area, for instance, now that we're in a conference call, but you need to be aware of communications, you can put the radio in vibration. So you can feel the radio, and then you can look. Maybe they send you a message. Maybe somebody's trying to reaching you, and you can excuse yourself and take care of that. It's box capable. That's a great feature because the type of users that you might have, maybe you need both hands to be doing something. So you have box, you can activate that. Even more, the radio, if you have a headset, is full duplex. So now, if you have full duplex and your box, now you can have a dual communications with people and working with your hands. If you don't have a good battery, the radio doesn't do anything to you. So this radio has up to 27 hours on standby with a BP271. There are other batteries. There are third-party batteries that will give you more capabilities also. Like I said, it supports full duplex with a headset, reliable sound quality. That's very important. You know, it doesn't help you if you have a very loud radio, but you cannot understand what the person is saying. If it sounds muffled, it doesn't do anything to you, especially in the type of industries that you guys represent. Sense the status of the IP1000C to the IP1000FS. If you have an IP1000FS on a dispatch station, let's see, a coordinator, a dispatcher, you can send statuses to say, I'm out to lunch, on my way back to the shop. Those are pre-canned messages that you can configure. And what is very nice about this system is that you can have multiple groups of people. For instance, you can have engineering, you can have explorations, you can have supply, you can have warehouse. Well, each one of those groups, they will have different messages. So you can customize those messages specifically for those groups. And that, all of that is more of the minutia of how the system is configured, but those are some of the capabilities of this system. The quality sensor status of provides a diagnostics mode to check TSRX. So if you are on a system, you're trying to implement the radio, you can put the radio in diagnostics, and it will give you all that data to make sure that the radio is capable of operating on that network. Next, Al. Now let's talk about the IP100FS. It's a remote communicator. For the system, the IP100FS is another radio. So when I mentioned that you can have 100 radios per 1000 C or 50 radios per VPG4 or a ROID gateway, you will have to subtract one from every 100 FS that you will have. So if you want 100 radios and you decide that you want 100 FS, you will have 99 radios and 100 FS. That's very important. What is cool about this app is that you can have a person with a big screen monitoring the people that are using the radios. Since you have a mesh network, all these radios are logging into different access points, into different breadcrumbs. So what the system utilizes is that the access point that the radios log on is going to show the little radio. As you can see on the blue screen, basically those are different access points, and those are the radios registered to that access point. And what you can do, you can load different BMPs. For instance, you have a warehouse. You can get a BMP image of the warehouse, and then locate all the access points or breadcrumbs that you want to use, and locate them more or less in the area that they're going to be. So now this person will be able to see that Joe is by the north side of the warehouse by door 25, and I need him in door 27. So I can say, push dock, hey Joe, please move to 27 because we're going to be unloading or loading a truck. Or Joe, we need you in the office. So you can use the resources in a more efficient way. You can do messaging. The radios have pre-canned messages. With the FS, you can do freehand messaging. You can type messages and they can be sent to the radios. The map feature is basically what I mentioned. It basically triangulates out the access points that you're in. Functions like a traditional radio in the system. Uses a computer built-in sound system. So basically what you have is already computer, you have your already system. So the only thing that you will need is the USB key dongle that basically validates the software. It installs in Windows. Unfortunately, it's designed for Windows. I know many of the people nowadays that want to use a Mac or they want to use a Linux type device, but it's a commercial application, so it was designed for Windows. And it will show the transmission and reception. Let me see what else I can say. Something else, if you look on the right-hand side, there is some buttons. Those buttons are fully customizable. So I can, if I talk to Joe and Smitty most of the time, because they might be the supervisors, I can create a button to call them directly. But then I can create a button to the talk group that I want to communicate. If I have a BPG4, then I can have a SIP communications added to this. So now from this station, on the upper right, yes. From this station, I might be able to talk to a SIP telephone. I can call the front office, or the front office can call me, or the front office can call the radios. All those capabilities become available once you add the VPG4 to the mixture. Next slide, please. The brains of the system is the IP1000C radio controller. For us network people, just look at the IP1000C as a server. It's an appliance device that you plug a word into the wall, you plug an RJ45 Cat6 cable to your switch, and now it becomes an appliance. It has many capabilities. You can create your own I'm sorry that the word escapes from DHCP server. It can be, you can create your own DHCP server. So if you subnet the system and you want to create DHCP and use the device as a DHCP server, it can be a DHCP server. But it's an appliance. And basically what's going to happen is when a radio is turned on, the first thing it's going to do is going to look for the SSID that you assign to the radio. It's going to look at the SSID, like Al mentioned, Icom IP. It's going to look for that SSID, and it's going to log on. Once it's logged on into the system, now the radio can communicate through the network. When we configure the radio, we're going to put an IP address, a static IP address, that will be this appliance. Now, when it goes to this appliance, it's going to also be validated by the appliance. So it's a secure system. It's secure by your network, and then it's secure by the appliance that is going to log on. The IP1000C can also communicate with third-party manufacturers. So I can take this IP1000C and connect it to a VEPG4. I can take through the VEPG4, connect it to a recorder, connected to different devices. It easily installs into existing IP1000C. I have gone to locations with 1000C and a couple radios, and with authorization of the network administrator, we've been operational in a few minutes. It's very, very, very simple. It's easily installed, manages up to 100 IP100Hs and FS. Up to 11 of them can be linked together. Can be used in standard wireless networks, manages individual, group, and area calls. For those of you that you're not familiar with radio communications or land mobile communications, in land mobile you have different ways to communicate. In telephones we call Joe, we call Smitty. In radios you can call Joe, you can call Smitty, or maybe you want to talk to a group. That will be a bunch of people. Or there's an emergency, you can do an area call, an all call, so you can tell, please leave the building. It's DHCP capable, supports simplex and full duplex. Something very important with the IP1000C and the radios. The radios have what is called OTAP, over-the-air programming. Why is that very important? Normally, when in land mobile systems, when you need to make changes to radios, you need to bring the radio to the shop, maybe to add a person, to add an alias, something very simple like that. With OTAP, it can be transferred over the air. So for instance, we have new firmware for the radios. I go ahead, download it into the 1000C, select the radios that I want to update, and broadcast that over the network. The radios will detect that there is an update, will download the information, you turn it off, you turn it on, and the radio is back operational. For instance, Radio 21 was Security 1. Well, we're going to reassign Security 1 to Warehouse 25. Normally, that will require radio to come to the office. No. Through the IP1000C, I can change the name of the radio from Security 1 to Warehouse 21, send it over, and then over the microphone, I can say, please turn the radio off, or I can turn the radio off remotely. And all those changes will take effect once the radio log on into the system. Supports wired web and WPA encryption. So AAS encryption. Next, please. This is a VEPG4. I've been talking a lot. The SME within Icom for the VEPG4 is a great piece of equipment. Unfortunately, it has a weird commercial name, VEPG4. There's many names that people call them, but it's a ROIC gateway. It's a radio over IP gateway. This allows you to link data devices like the IP1000C, the IP radios, SIP technology, to analog technology, radio technology. So it allows to bridge almost any modern communication system to Icom's universal network products and more. Interconnects a variety of ways of LTE, PTT products. So now I can do LTE, I can do SIP, I can a diverse system of devices. Now the VEPG4 can be the hub of that system. In addition to that, it's also an IP1000C, but instead of being 100, has a 50. So let's say you want 150 radios and you want to have the VEPG4. So what you do is you have the VEPG4 and then you add one IP1000C, 2, 3, 4, up to 11. Icom IDAS conventional trunking. So if you have a LMR system, our digital system is IDAS, but you can do analog, P25, DMR, SIP phones. There is ways to connect different types of radio communications to the back of this device, and then since it's the hub, you can go ahead and interconnect it to other types of technologies. Next, please. Here's an example of how Rajant's breadcrumbs will be part of our system. We have our IP radios. Basically, they are going through the Rajant network or your network. They're the ones that allow the radios to connect into the network. You have the IP100FS. All of that goes through a switch, and that switch connects to the IP1000C, which is the appliance connected to the network. If you have operations outside your building and you have an intranet or you have a secure connection through VPNs, you can connect to a VPG4. You can be in Dubai where you have your oil rigs, and you can have your administration in Dallas. So now you can have a VPG4 maybe in Dubai and IP radios in Dallas, and you can be talking to them. That's the advantage of this system. And the biggest advantage of this is normally if you need to add, for instance, a land mobile system into an oil rig or into a location, you need to take you need to get a tower, you need to get a repeater, you need to procure frequencies. There is a lot of red tape in the background before you can press PTT. With this system and the Rajant network, the only thing that I need to do is just bring another box, assign it an IP address, tell the radios you're going to be connecting to this device, and that's it. Something else that I failed to mention, for instance, you can have an IP radio that works into location 1. Well, you might have location 3, 4, 5, and you travel through all those locations, and each location has a different SSID. Well, the IP radio, the IP100H, has the capability of configuring up to 10 different SSIDs. So when you leave the location, you turn the radio off. If you don't have Wi-Fi connectivity, when you get to the next location, you turn it on, logs into the network, and you're operational. It's as simple as that. Next screen, please. Again, like I mentioned, it's license free. Coverage is expandable. It's very dynamic. Up to 100 IP100 radios per IP1000. Since I mentioned that you can link up to 11 of them, you have 1100 radios that they can be linked together. You have individual, group call, talk group call, SSND, and if you add the VPG4, now you can have SIP telephony. So now, and I've tested and it works so well. From the IP1000 FS, I can press a button and dial the telephone number, or a telephone can call one of the radios individually or through group. Next, please.
That's it. So time for questions, and we have quite a few. Cesar, do you have this presentation? We'll make everything available after the call, just so you're aware. Then we have another question from Steve Riggs. What is the range of the Icom to the access point? We answered that by saying it kind of depends on the mesh network. Edwin, do you want to add anything to that, or?
Yes, and that's a very good question, because depending on the type of network, it will be the range. Since you have this intelligent mesh network, the range is enhanced. If you are like in a regular network that you went ahead and got some access points, you have about 200 to 250 meters from the location. In addition, the radio will have to log on and log off every time that goes from access point to access point. That's one of the advantages that you have with the breadcrumb system, that radio's logged on and is being handled between access points. so you will not lose any communications.
The next question is, does Icom have an intrinsically safe handset? And I know I can answer that, Steve can answer that. Unfortunately, not at this point. We've had discussions with it. What we were looking for was a partner that could provide added value and provide this push-to-talk technology. None of the wireless providers that we reviewed provided that feature currently today. Edwin or Steve, do you guys want to add anything else?
Yes, if I may. We have other technologies that they're intrinsically safe. If we have the request, and obviously it's a matter of numbers, we could maybe make a version of this radio that is intrinsically safe, but all depends on the feedback that we get from customers. At this time, we haven't had a need to do so, but maybe in the future we might be able to offer a version. We have those capabilities.
Okay. So I answered the next question about hazardous environment. The next question is, so can you elaborate on the IP 1500C, which allows 5,000 clients without reducing talk groups or anything else?
Well, at this time, I cannot elaborate into it because it's still in development. I don't have that device, but basically it will be the same as the IP1000C, but just bigger volume. It will be able to handle more radios, and basically what it's going to do is we're going to take the little box and put it into a server, because you need the horsepower to manage all those radios. But basically that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a server-based controller that is going to manage a bigger amount of radios.
Let me see. Will the system operate over satellite IP network with 200 kbps throughput? So the satellite network becomes the IP bridge, in my opinion. At this point, it would have to be tested, I would think. The latency on typical satellite networks are around 800 milliseconds, so you might get some lag time. I don't know. It's something we would need to test.
Yes. I can add a little bit to that. Icom, we manufacture a SAT radio. It's called the SAT 100. And I have done some testing using the SAT 100 through the VPG4 and the IP radio, and I have used them, and they work well. But what what Al just mentioned is very important, is the delay. If you don't have a good connection, if you don't have, you have a lot of lag time, the packets are going to get lost, and we're going to have issues. But is it capable? Yes. It all depends on the satellite connection.
Individual calls, full or duplex? Full duplex or half?
Individual calls can be full or duplex or half duplex. What's going to determine if it's half duplex or full duplex is if you're using a headset. On this radio, if you have a headset added to the radio, you can have full duplex communications.
How does the system determine which radios have priority over other radios, like standard 900 megahertz two-way radios, when two or more radios are queued at the same time?
It doesn't work exactly like a land mobile system. And basically what we do, we assign priority for the type of communication. So basically, if we have a telephone call that has higher priority over a group call, individual call has higher priority over group call. It doesn't have the same priority schema like a land mobile system.
Can radios do talk around, i.e., can they talk where there is no network?
No. We are depending on the network. That's the backhaul. The first thing that the radio is going to do is going to look for an SSID. If there's no network, it's just basically going to drain the battery.
What is the importance of doing simplex or full duplex?
In today's networks, it's fairly irrelevant because we're talking about gigabit networks. But the main difference between the one and the other one is packet size. So basically, if you go simplex, you're gonna the size of the packet is gonna be about 150 KB. If you go full duplex, it's about 300 KB.
Is there a handset that will operate on Wi-Fi where available, but also has DMR transceiver built in?
Okay. First of all, Icom, we don't do DMR. We have our own digital technology called IDAS. That being said, we are working at this time, and we might be hearing that in the near future, of an IDAS radio that will also do Wi-Fi. But that's not here yet. But we're working on a radio like that.
I'm going to do a few more questions because we're going to get long on time here. But what will the handover time between access point be? Typically the way our infrastructure works, it's 2 to 4 milliseconds because each access point does a make before break connection. So there really isn't much of a latency between access point to access point infrastructure handover. I would say this question really, if it's a very large network, 500-600 nodes, we would have to test it. At this point, we have not gone into that size of an AP network. Does this solution work without internet connectivity? I'll answer, and then Edwin, if you can add to it.
Mm-hmm.
As long as the Icom infrastructure can see the mesh, I don't think it needs internet connectivity. The internet connectivity would be if you wanted to VPN between multiple sites. Edwin?
I totally agree with that. Actually, I have my black box that I carry for demos, and I create my own network. You don't need internet connectivity besides what Al just mentioned. If you want to link 2 sites, yes, you will need internet connectivity. And there's one added one, the IP1000C, the VPG4. If you put them on the outside of the network, the firmware can be upgraded automatically. That's the only reason that you will want to have internet connectivity. Other than that, you can have a closed, secure network, and the radio will work 100%.
Okay. We did the intrinsically safe. Rajant network priority is data or voice. Our priority is definitely to get the packets across. The way we talk about it is that, every packet matters. We can set up priorities on the network determining what packets we want to get across. So I think, we can work on the priority of the packets and how that happens within the system. What I'd like to do, since we're kind of running a little bit long, is we'll take all these questions, and we still have a bunch to go through, and we'll make sure we get them all addressed, and we'll put them in as part of the meeting notes, and they'll be available later today. And with that, I would like to thank Edwin and Steve And
Thank you,
we'll
sir.
make sure we get all these questions addressed, and we'll get you a response on all of them. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you attending the WebEx. Look forward to providing you response and getting this information out to you. Have a good day. Stay safe.